Hello everybody, my name is Charles. In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to quickly change eye color in Photoshop. So the first thing we need to do is make a selection around the eyes. First I want to kind of zoom into the eyes. I'm going to hit Z for the zoom tool, and I'm going to click in the area right in between her eyes here to get a clear zoom. And I'm going to press the spacebar down and my cursor turns into a hand tool, and then I can just move the image over. So I'm going to use the lasso tool to make the selection. There's a lot of different tools you can use. L for the lasso tool. And I'm going to make a selection around the iris, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So you can just get as close as you can. Just around the iris is all you need. Okay, that's one selected. And if I hold down the shift key right next to the lasso tool, it turns into a plus. That tells Photoshop that I am going to add to this selection, and I can continue going around the other eye, and as you can see, it's not perfect, but that's okay. So now we have both eyes selected. So now before we go any further, I want to clean up this selection. I'm going to double click over here where the quick mask is. The way I'm using this is the selected area is this color red, so that's the way I have that set up, and I'm in the quick mask mode. You can see the areas of the iris that are selected. And now with the brush tool, B for the brush tool, I'm going to paint with black. Zoom in here a little bit more. I have 100% opacity in my flow. I'm going to put it 45 or so. I use my left and right brackets to make my brush as big or small as I need, and I'm just going to draw around the area like this and get that selection as best as I can. And in this photo, we're changing her eyes from blue to green. So I want to try and get some of that blue out of there. And I want to switch my brush to white because right in here where the pupil is, I don't want that to be selected. I don't want any color to come through there. And then also there's this catch light here that is probably from light or a flash. And so I painted away that color, and I'll go over to the other eye, do the same thing, get rid of that blue around the edges as carefully as I can. I'm zoomed in here pretty good, so we're going to get everything. And if I make any mistakes, I will just change my brush to white and paint that out of there, change it to white and paint out the area in the pupil and the catch light. We don't want that colored. That's why we're painting it out with a brush white. So now we'll hit Q to get out of quick mask mode. And there is our selection around both eyes. Now I'm going to create a hue and saturation adjustment layer. And you can see our mask here is the two white dots, which are the areas that are going to be affected by the hue and saturation. The rest of the mask is black and everything is hidden. And now I like to use this colorize option. So once I click colorize, you can see that the eyes kind of turn a little reddish, and now we can change the hue all the way across. You can see that the color of the eyes are changing all the way from the reds going to green, blue, purple, or to red. I think I'm going to put this right around 144, something like that. And so here we're going from blue to green. Saturation, you can change that to your taste, whatever you feel. I think around 25 is good. Too saturated and it won't look natural. And for hue and saturation, this adjustment layer, mainly change the hue and saturation. Lightness I would leave alone because we're going to take care of that with another adjustment layer. I just feel that it looks a little bit more natural if we don't use this lightness adjustment here. But I am going to change the blend mode to color. So there's probably going to be a subtle difference when you change that blend mode to color, but you should see more of the original details in the eye. So now let's add a levels adjustment so that we can adjust the lightness of the eyes. So I'm going to Command or Control and click on the layer mask of the hue and saturation so that I can bring the selection back. And I'm going to come down here to levels adjustment. And now I'm using that same mask. And as you can see when I'm changing, I'm going to try just the midpoint right here and change it just a little bit. And so that's changed the lightness of the eyes made it a little bit darker. I'm going to rename this lightness. And now I think I'd like to add another levels adjustment. I want to bring back some of the lightness in the eye, in the other areas. Let's see how that works here. And now Command or Control and click on the layer mask, bringing back my selection and create another levels adjustment. And this time I'm going to bring up the white point a little bit. And you can see in the eyes how just in the middle where the bright areas are, it's starting to come up. And let's put this at something like 188. So now I want to bring up the layer style dialog because I want that effect just to be in the lighter areas. I don't want it to be in the darker areas. So I'm going to come down here to this underlying layer and hold Alt or Option, and I am going to split this. So now it's just in the lighter areas of the iris. And I can come up here to the opacity and change that a little bit if I want and say okay. So there is the before and there's the after. So that brought out some of those lighter areas. And now to make it easier to come back here and change any of these values, I'm going to create a group, Command G, and I'm going to copy the layer mask here so that this group has one layer mask, and I'm going to put all the other layers in this group, and I'm going to delete each of these layer masks. And now anytime I want to go back into this and change it, you have one layer mask. So this is blue to green. I can go to any of these adjustments and change any of my values. That was blue to green eye. Hey, if you're getting value out of this, hit that like button. Okay, let's do another example. Let's do brown to blue eyes. So let's click on the bottom layer, hit Z for the zoom tool, click right there in the middle of our eyes so it zooms in at that point. Hold down the space bar, move the whole image over, and let's make a selection like we did before. L for the lasso tool, and we're going to go around the iris, and already my hand is not steady. Press down Shift, and now we told Photoshop we're going to add to this selection, and around the eyes again, just the iris, and hit Q to go back in the quick mask, B for the brush tool, switch our color to paint with black, zoom in a little bit more, and just in the areas where I did a horrible job of making a selection. But that's the thing with Photoshop, you have all these tools that you can go back and correct your mistakes, refine, like in this case the selection, and we're removing the brown areas that are spilling over here, a little bit of red there. Okay, now we can paint out right here in the pupil, bring back this catch light right here. We don't want that color to be covering this catch light and the pupil. Same thing on this side. Okay, that looks pretty good. Hit Q to get out of quick mask. There's our selection, and like before, bring our hue and saturation adjustment layer, click on colorize, and we said we were going for blue, something around 200. And we have saturation. I'm going to bring this saturation to like 37 and change the blend mode to color. And now, like we did before, I'm going to click on the layer mask, hold Control or Command, there's our selection, and create a levels adjustment, and we can adjust our levels so that we can get the lightness of the eye, and I like that, and we'll just name this lightness. And now we want to bring out more of the light areas again, so I'm going to Command or Control and click on my lightness layer mask to bring back my selection, create a new levels adjustment, and bring up the white point here and say 198. And now I'm going to double click on that to bring up my layer styles, and on the underlying layer I want to hold Alt or Option and just bring that away from the shadows. I just want it in the lighter areas, and I'll also lower the opacity a little bit and say okay, and create another group, and I'm going to call this brown to blue. Hold Alt or Option, and I'm going to copy this layer mask here, and I'm going to move all the other layers into that group. I don't need these layer masks, so I'm going to delete the layer mask. And now I've gone from blue to green on the left. There's before and there's the after. And I've also gone from brown to blue. There's before and there's the after. If you want more Photoshop tutorials, click on the playlist here. If you haven't already, please subscribe and give a like to this video. And remember, it's never too late to learn. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.